The wheelchair tipped backward, and for a heartbeat, Amara Okonkwo saw nothing but her husband's twisted smile before gravity took over. "Down you go, living corpse!" Chitty's voice echoed in the marble stairwell of their Lekki penthouse as he shoved her wheelchair toward the top step. Amara's hands flew to the armrests, knuckles white, heart hammering against her ribs like a caged bird. The wheelchair teetered on the edge. One was suspended over nothing, the other grinding against polished floor. She could see the 15 steps below, each one a promise of broken bones, shattered dignity, maybe worse. "Chitty, please." Her voice cracked, but he just laughed. That cruel sound she learned to fear over the past 6 months since the accident that had stolen her legs. What would you do if you walked in on this? Hit like if you've been betrayed, and comment below where you're watching from. 6 months ago, Amara had been a rising real estate mogul in Lagos, Nigeria. She'd built Okonkwo properties from nothing, transforming dusty plots in Aja into luxury estates that attracted celebrities and politicians. Her legs had carried her through construction sites in designer heels, through boardroom battles in her signature Ankara print power suits. She'd been untouchable. Then came the car crash on 3rd Mainland Bridge during rush hour, a drunk driver, a moment of impact, and everything changed. The doctors at Lagos University Teaching Hospital had been blunt. Severe spinal injury, permanent paralysis from the waist down. Her world had shrunk to the dimensions of a wheelchair. But Chitty had promised to stand by her. Her husband of 8 years, father of their 7-year-old daughter Zainab, had held her hand in that hospital room and sworn nothing would change between them. That was the first lie. The second came 3 months later, when she'd rolled into their bedroom unannounced and found Ngozi, her own younger sister, naked and tangled in their marriage bed. In sheets Amara had picked out herself from that boutique in Victoria Island. The memory burned fresh as Amara gripped the wheelchair now, muscles screaming as she fought against the angle of death Chitty had created. Her arms, strengthened by months of physical therapy, of learning to live in this new body, strained against the metal frame. "You're pathetic," Chitty spat, his expensive Tom Ford cologne mixing with the stench of whiskey on his breath. "A cripple who can't even satisfy her husband. Ngozi gives me what you never could, even before the accident." The words were designed to wound, to break her spirit completely. And they would have, if Amara hadn't seen what Chitty didn't know she'd seen. Yesterday, while he thought she was at physical therapy, Amara had rolled into his study. She'd found the documents, transfer papers for all their properties, signed over to Chitty's name only, bank statements showing systematic withdrawal of funds from their joint accounts into an offshore account she had no access to. Most damning of all, divorce papers already drawn up, with clauses that would leave her with nothing, painting her as an unstable, dependent burden. Chitty Okonkwo wasn't just a cheating husband. He was a calculating thief, planning to strip her of everything she'd built while she was at her most vulnerable. The domestic betrayal cut deeper than any car crash ever could. The wheelchair rocked forward suddenly, wheels catching traction. Amara's physiotherapy had made her upper body strong, stronger than Chitty anticipated. She wasn't the broken woman he thought she was. "You want me gone?" Amara's voice dropped to ice. "You'll have to do better than this." Chitty's smile faltered. Behind him, a door opened. Footsteps approached. Ngozi's voice called out, "Baby, is it done?" "Did you?" She stopped dead, seeing Amara still upright, still alive, still dangerous. That's when Amara's phone, clutched in her lap, buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Mrs. Okonkwo, this is Detective Adebayo. We need to talk about your husband's business dealings and about your accident." The world tilted again, but this time not from the wheelchair's angle. Amara looked up at Chitty, saw the flash of panic cross his features, and knew the car accident hadn't been an accident at all. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't believe what Amara discovers next. What do you think Chitty did? Drop your theories in the comments. And if you're loving this story of revenge and resilience, smash that like button. Where are you watching from? Let me know below. Amara's fingers trembled as she opened the message from Detective Adebayo, but she kept her face stone cold, watching Chitty and Ngozi exchange nervous glances in the hallway above her. "Who's texting you?" Chitty's voice had lost its cruel edge, replaced by something sharper. Fear disguised as concern. My lawyer. Amara lied smoothly, backing her wheelchair away from the stairs with controlled precision. 6 months in this chair had taught her more than mobility. It had taught her patience, observation, survival. We have that meeting about the property dispute, remember? She watched Chitty's shoulders relax slightly. Good. Let him think she was still a compliant wife, too broken to fight back. Ngozi stepped forward, her silk robe, Amara's silk robe, the burgundy one from her trip to Dubai, hanging open just enough to flaunt what she'd stolen. At 28, Ngozi was 10 years younger than Amara, with smooth skin untouched by the stress lines that marriage and motherhood had etched into Amara's face. But there was something hollow in her sister's eyes, something desperate that Amara had never noticed before. Sister, we didn't mean for you to, Ngozi started, her voice syrupy with false remorse. Save it. Amara cut her off, wheeling herself toward the elevator at the end of the hall. Their penthouse had been specially modified after the accident. Another irony, considering Chitty had probably been planning her demise even as he installed the wheelchair ramp. I have somewhere to be. Where? Chitty demanded, his hand shooting out to grip her wheelchair handle. Amara jerked away, spinning to face him. Don't touch my chair. Each word was a bullet. You've lost that right. Something flickered across Chitty's face. Surprise, maybe even a hint of respect, before the mask of indifference returned. Fine, but don't forget, Amara, everything you have, I gave you. This penthouse, those properties, even that fancy wheelchair. Without me, you're nothing but a living corpse. Amara finished, her voice deadly calm. That's what you called me, wasn't it? Just before you tried to murder me on these stairs. The word hung in the air like smoke. Murder. Ngozi gasped, stepping back. Amara, you're being dramatic. Chitty would never. Wouldn't he? Amara pulled out her phone, showing them the screen, but not Detective Adebayo's message. Instead, she'd pulled up the security camera app she'd secretly installed 2 weeks ago when her suspicions had first solidified. The footage showed Chitty's hands on her wheelchair, the deliberate shove, his twisted smile. This footage is already backed up to 3 different cloud accounts. Try anything else, and it goes straight to the police. Chitty's face drained of color. When did I stop being the foolish, trusting wife? Amara's laugh was bitter. The moment I caught you two in my bed, and you didn't even have the decency to apologize. That's when I realized, if you could betray me so easily, what else were you capable of? She wheeled herself into the elevator, pressing the button for the ground floor. As the doors began to close, she saw Chitty lunge forward, but Ngozi grabbed his arm, whispering something urgent in his ear. The elevator descended, and Amara finally let herself breathe. Her hands were shaking violently now, adrenaline crashing through her system. She just played the boldest card of her life, and she had no idea if it would be enough. The elevator dinged open to the lobby. Ibrahim, their longtime security guard, nodded respectfully as she passed. Mrs. Okonkwo, shall I call your driver? No, thank you, Ibrahim. I'll manage. She wheeled herself to the parking garage, where her modified Range Rover waited. Another gift from Chitty, another chain he'd tried to bind her with. But Amara had learned to turn every chain into a weapon. Her phone buzzed again. Detective Adebayo. Mrs. Okonkwo, I'm parked outside your building. Silver Toyota Camry. We need to talk now. Your husband's name has come up in connection with your accident, and there are things you need to know before it's too late. Amara's heart stopped. She scanned the parking garage until she spotted the Camry in the visitor section. A woman in her 40s sat in the driver's seat, watching her with sharp, intelligent eyes. As Amara approached, the detective stepped out, flashing a badge. Mrs. Okonkwo, I'm Detective Adebayo from the Lagos State Criminal Investigation Department. I've been investigating a series of suspicious accidents involving wealthy women in Lagos. Your case caught my attention because my husband has been systematically stealing my assets while I'm incapacitated. Amara finished. Detective Adebayo's eyebrows rose. I'm not as helpless as people think. Good, because we found something else. The detective pulled out a manila folder. The brake lines on your car were cut. This wasn't an accident, Mrs. Okonkwo. Someone tried to kill you, and we have reason to believe your husband paid someone to do it. The world tilted. Amara had suspected, but hearing confirmed, hearing that Chitty had literally tried to end her life for money and another woman, was like being hit by that car all over again. There's more, Detective Adebayo continued. We've been monitoring his calls. He's planning something for tonight. Something involving your daughter. Amara's blood turned to ice. Zainab? What about Zainab? He's arranged for someone to pick her up from school. We don't know where he's planning to take her, but given what we know about his financial desperation and the life insurance policies, she didn't need to finish. Amara's daughter, her beautiful, brilliant 7-year-old who loved science and wore her hair in neat cornrows and called her Mama Champion, was in danger. Amara's phone rang. Chitty's name flashed on the screen. What will Chitty say? And can Amara save her daughter in time? Hit like if you're on Amara's side, and comment below what you think she should do next. Don't forget to subscribe for the next chapter. This revenge story is just getting started. Amara stared at Chitty's name flashing on her screen, her mind racing through scenarios. Detective Adebayo nodded encouragingly, pulling out a small recording device. Answer it, the detective whispered. Keep him talking. We need evidence. Amara's finger hovered over green button. Everything in her wanted to scream, to demand where her daughter was, to threaten him with everything she had. But 6 months in a wheelchair had taught her something valuable. The weak survived by being underestimated. She answered, her voice small and shaky. Chitty? Amara. His tone was different now, controlled, almost gentle. The voice he used when he wanted something. Listen, about what happened upstairs. I was drunk, stressed about money. You know how the property market has been lately. Lies wrapped in excuses. Amara's grip on the phone tightened, but she kept her voice meek. I understand. Things have been hard for both of us. Detective Adebayo gave her a thumbs up. The recording device's red light blinking steadily. Exactly, Chitty continued, relief flooding his words. So, I was thinking, maybe we should send Zainab to stay with your mother in Enugu for a while, just until we sort things out between us. Give us space to reconnect. Amara's heart plummeted. Your mother in Enugu. Her mother had died 3 years ago. Chitty knew that, which meant wherever he was planning to send Zainab. It wasn't a family. That's actually a good idea. Amara forced out, each word like swallowing glass. When were you thinking? Today. I've already arranged everything. My driver will pick her up from Green Spring School at 3 o'clock. I'll take her to the airport myself. It was 2:15 p.m. 45 minutes. Okay, Amara whispered. Should I come say goodbye? Chitty's pause was telling. No need. You know how emotional goodbyes upset her. Better to keep it simple. I'll have her call you once she's settled. All right, Chitty, whatever you think is best. Good girl. The patronizing tone made Amara's skin crawl. Oh, and Amara? Delete that security footage. We both know you need me. Without my name on those properties, without my connections, you're nothing in this city. Be smart. The line went dead. Amara looked up at Detective Adebayo, her mask of weakness dropping instantly. We have 35 minutes to get to Green Spring School in Lekki. Traffic at this hour. I'll use the siren. Detective Adebayo was already moving toward the driver's side. Can you transfer from your chair to the car? Yes. Amara had practiced this 1,000 times, hating every moment of vulnerability it represented. Now, she moved with efficiency born of necessity, sliding from wheelchair to passenger seat, while the detective collapsed a chair and loaded it into the trunk. They tore out of the parking garage, blue lights flashing as they wove through Lagos traffic. Victoria Island to Lekki at rush hour was normally a nightmare, but with the siren clearing their path, they might just make it. Tell me about the life insurance policies, Amara said, her voice steady despite the terror coursing through her veins. Detective Adebayo navigated around a Danfo bus, horns blaring. Your husband took out a 5 million naira policy on your daughter 6 months ago, right after your accident. 5 million naira. Enough to cover his debts, fund his new life with Ngozi, and eliminate the one person who could expose him, Zainab, who'd witnessed something the night before Amara's accident. The memory hit Amara like lightning. Zainab had been crying that morning, saying she'd had a nightmare about Daddy and Aunt Ngozi doing bad things to Mama's car. Amara had dismissed it as childhood imagination, a confused dream mixing her accident with her daughter's awareness that something was wrong in their home. But what if it hadn't been a dream? What if Zainab had seen Chitty sabotage the car? He was going to kill her, Amara said flatly. My daughter saw something, and he's going to kill her to protect himself. Not if we get there first. Detective Adebayo ran a red light, narrowly missing a motorcycle taxi. But Mrs. Okonkwo, I need to prepare you. Even if we stop him today, the legal battle ahead will be brutal. Men like your husband have connections, lawyers, friends in high places. This is Lagos. Money talks. Then I'll make sure my money talks louder. Amara's voice was steel. I built Okonkwo properties from nothing while Chitty was still trying to convince his father to give him a job. Every property, every contract, every connection, I made those. He just smiled pretty and signed the papers I put in front of him. They screeched into the school's parking lot at 2:47 p.m. Green Spring School sprawled across manicured lawns, its modern buildings housing the children of Lagos's elite. Amara had fought to get Zainab enrolled here, wanted her daughter to have every advantage. Now that same exclusivity worked against them. The school security was tight, designed to prevent unauthorized pickups. There! Detective Adebayo pointed to a black Mercedes G-Wagon idling near the pickup zone. That's registered to your husband's company. Amara's blood ran cold. The driver was Emeka, Chitty's personal bodyguard. 6 feet of muscle who'd worked for her husband for 5 years. She'd trusted him with her daughter countless times. The school bell rang. Children began streaming out, uniformed in green and white, backpacks bouncing. Amara scanned desperately for Zainab's distinctive cornrows with the colorful beads at the ends. There! She spotted her daughter walking with her teacher toward the Mercedes, laughing about something, completely unaware of the danger. Detective Adebayo started to open her door, but Amara grabbed her arm. Wait! If we confront him here, Chitty will know we're on to him. He'll just try again, more carefully next time. We need to catch him in the act. Mrs. Okonkwo, that's your daughter. Which is exactly why we need to be smart. Amara's mind was racing, calculating angles like she did in business negotiations. Can you track the Mercedes? Follow them without being seen. Yes, but... Then do it, and call for backup. I want officers ready when Chitty makes his move. I want irrefutable evidence that will put him away forever. She watched Emeka help Zainab into backseat, her daughter's innocent smile like a knife to Amara's heart. Every instinct screamed at her to rush forward, to grab her baby and never let go. But Amara had learned that survival required sacrifice. Sometimes you had to let the trap spring to catch the predator. The Mercedes pulled out of the parking lot. Detective Adebayo waited 3 beats, then followed at a careful distance. Amara's phone buzzed. A text from Ngozi. Sister, please. Chitty's not who you think he is. Meet me at Mama Cass restaurant in Acadia. Alone. I can explain everything. There are things you don't know about your perfect marriage. Come by 5 p.m. if you want the truth. Amara showed the message to Detective Adebayo. The detective's jaw tightened. It's a trap or a distraction. Probably both, Amara agreed. But what if she's serious? What if Ngozi knows something about Chitty's plans? We can't split up. Your daughter is being driven somewhere by Emeka while we follow. We have backup coming. But if Ngozi knows where Chitty's taking Zainab, or what he's really planning, Amara's tactical mind was already working through the possibilities. What if this isn't just about insurance money? What if there's something bigger? Ahead of them, the Mercedes took an unexpected turn, not toward the airport, but toward the Lagos Lagoon waterfront. Detective Adebayo's face went pale. Oh, God, he's not flying her out. Her radio crackled to life. Detective, we got a situation. Chidi Okonkwo just boarded a private yacht at Ocean View Marina. We have confirmed sightings of ammunition and diving equipment being loaded earlier today. Amara's world stopped. The lagoon, diving equipment, an accident at sea. Her phone rang again. This time it was a video call from Chidi. When she answered, she saw her daughter's terrified face. Tears streaming down her cheeks. Chidi's hand clamped over her mouth. "Hello, darling wife." Chidi's face appeared, his smile venomous. "Let's talk about the price of your daughter's life. Is this the end for Zainab? What does Chidi really want? Like this video if your heart is racing, and comment what you think Amara should do. Subscribe and hit that notification bell, because the next chapter is going to blow your mind. This story of betrayal and revenge is about to take a turn nobody saw coming. Zainab's muffled sobs through the phone screen tore something primal loose in Amara's chest, but she forced herself to stay calm. Her daughter needed her sharp, not shattered. "Let me see her properly," Amara said, her voice leveled despite the rage burning through her veins. "Let me see that she's unharmed." Chidi's hand moved from Zainab's mouth. The little girl immediately cried out, Mama, I'm scared. Daddy said we're going on a boat, but I don't want." "Sure, baby. Mama's here." Amara's eyes locked with Detective Adebayo's as she spoke. The detective was already radioing for Marine police units. "Zainab, remember what Mama taught you about being brave? I need you to be my champion right now. Can you do that?" Zainab nodded, tears still streaming but her breathing steadying. That was her girl, strong like her mother. Chidi's face filled the screen again, blocking out Zainab. Touching. "Now here's how this works. Amara, you have documents I need signed. Transfer papers for the remaining properties still in your name. The Banana Island plot, the 2 buildings in Victoria Island, and the land in Abuja. Sign them over to me. Bring them to the marina within 1 hour, and you get your daughter back. And if I don't, then little Zainab here goes for a very long swim. The Lagos Lagoon is so unpredictable. Tragic accidents happen all the time." His voice dropped to a whisper. "Just like what happened to you was supposed to be. Except you survived, and that's become inconvenient." There was the confession, cold and clear. Detective Adebayo's recording device caught every word. "You tried to kill me," Amara said, needing him to say more, to hang himself completely. "Of course I did." Chidi laughed, the sound hollow and cruel. "Did you really think I married you for love? You were a business opportunity, Amara. Your father's connections, your family's reputation. It opened doors. But then you got ambitious, started making your own deals, building your own empire. You stopped being useful and became a liability. So you decided to kill me and take everything. The accident was supposed to finish you, but you just had to survive, just had to cling to life like the stubborn woman you are. Fine, I adapted, fell in love with your much more accommodating sister, started moving assets quietly. But then this one," he grabbed Zainab's shoulder roughly, making the child whimper, "started asking questions. Why is Daddy being mean to Mama? Why is Annie Ngozi living with us? Children see too much." Amara's hands clenched into fists. "She's 7 years old, Chidi. Old enough to testify in court. Old enough to ruin everything." His eyes were flat, emotionless. This was the real Chidi Okonkwo, the man behind a charming smile and designer suits. "So here's what's going to happen. You sign those papers. I take Zainab on a little boat trip. And maybe she comes back to you. Depends on how cooperative you are. You're insane if you think I'll trust you. You don't have a choice. You're a cripple in a wheelchair. Amara, what are you going to do? Roll after me?" He laughed at his own cruelty. 1 hour. Marina parking lot. Come alone, or she goes in the water immediately. The call disconnected. Amara looked at Detective Adebayo, her mind already racing through options. "Tell me you have Marine units on the way." 5 minutes out. "But Mrs. Okonkwo, we need to be careful. If he sees police boats, he might. He'll kill her." Amara finished a thought that had been terrorizing her since they'd started following the Mercedes. "We need a distraction, something that keeps his attention on me while your people get into position." Detective Adebayo's phone buzzed. She read the message, then looked up sharply. There's been a development. Ngozi Okafor just walked into a Ikeja police station. She's asking for protective custody and says she has information about Chidi Okonkwo's criminal activities. Amara's mind reeled. Ngozi had turned? What information? She claims he's been running an insurance fraud scheme for 2 years. Multiple accidental deaths of wealthy women, all with policies that benefited their husbands who paid Chidi a cut. Your accident was supposed to be the biggest payout yet. The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. Chidi wasn't just a cheating husband trying to steal her assets. He was a serial killer, orchestrating murders and disguising them as accidents. And she'd been marked as his next victim. How many women? Amara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. 6 that we know of, all in wheelchairs or severely disabled after their accidents. All died within a year of their injuries in ways that seemed tragic but natural. Falls, drowning, medication overdoses. And all their husbands are now wealthy, single men living comfortable lives. Amara felt sick. She could have been number 7. Would have been, if she hadn't been too stubborn to die, too watchful to miss the signs. Ngozi says she only found out 2 weeks ago. Detective Adebayo continued. She thought Chidi just wanted to be with her, that your accident was real. But she overheard a phone conversation about finishing the job and realized what she'd gotten involved with. She's terrified he'll kill her next. Good, Amara said coldly. She should be. But right now, my daughter is on that boat with Monster, and I need a plan. Detective Adebayo pulled into a parking spot overlooking the marina. They could see the yacht, a sleek white vessel called Fortune's Favor, bobbing in the water. Emeka stood guard on the deck, while Chidi's silhouette moved in the cabin below. Here's what we do, Detective Adebayo began, but Amara was already opening the passenger door. No, here's what I do. Amara transferred to her wheelchair with practiced efficiency. You stay here with your backup. I go in, given the papers. You don't actually have. I have blank papers in my bag. He won't check them carefully if he thinks he's won. His arrogance is his weakness. Amara's mind was sharp, calculating. I keep him talking, keep him focused on me. When he's distracted, your people board the yacht and secure Zainab. That's too dangerous. If something goes wrong, then my daughter and I die together. But at least we die fighting. Amara met the detective's eyes. I didn't survive that car crash. 6 months of hell, and my husband betrayal just to give up now. This ends today. She started rolling toward the marina entrance, her phone already dialing Chidi's number. He answered on the first ring. You're early. Desperate. I'm a mother. I have your papers. But I want to see my daughter first, alive, healthy, and on dry land, before I hand over anything. Not how this works. Then I'll burn these documents right here and let you explain to Ngozi how you lost everything, because you couldn't negotiate. Amara let steel enter her voice. I built an empire, Chidi. I know how to play chess. You want my properties? Prove my daughter is safe first. Silence on the other end. Then, fine, come to the yacht. Alone. Any sign of police, and she goes overboard. Amara rolled forward, past a marina gate with a security guard, who recognized Mrs. Okonkwo from her many business dealings, waved her through without question. The wooden dock stretched before her, wheelchair-accessible ramps installed for the wealthy disabled boat owners who kept vessels here. Behind her, Detective Adebayo watched through binoculars, speaking urgently into a radio. Marine police were approaching from the east, underwater. Snipers were getting into position on nearby buildings. But all of that meant nothing if Chidi panicked. Amara reached the yacht's boarding ramp. Emeka looked down at her, uncomfortable. Mrs. Okonkwo, I didn't know what Olga was planning. I swear I thought this was just... Save it. Amara cut him off. Help me aboard or stand aside. Emeka extended a hand, helping her navigate the ramp onto the yacht deck. The smell of salt and diesel fuel mixed with expensive cologne. Through the cabin windows, she could see Zainab sitting on a leather bench, alive but terrified. Chidi emerged from below, that familiar smile plastered on his face. Welcome aboard, darling wife. I must say, you look rather pathetic down there in your chair. Was it hard, accepting that you'll never stand on your own again? Amara held up a manila folder. The papers. Now, give me my daughter. Let me see them first. She held the folder out, and Chitty snatched it, flipping through the documents quickly, too quickly. His greed made him sloppy, just as she predicted. These look good, he said, not noticing there were blank transfer forms with no signatures, no notary stamps, nothing legally binding. But there's been a change of plans. Amara's blood ran cold. What change? I've decided I can't risk leaving witnesses. You've always been too smart for your own good. Amara, even crippled, even broken, you're dangerous. He pulled out a gun from his waistband, a small pistol, black and deadly. So, here's what's really going to happen. You and Zainab are going to have a tragic accident together. A devastated mother, unable to cope with her disability, takes her daughter's life and then her own. Very sad. Very believable. Emeka stepped back, his face pale. Boss, this wasn't the plan. You said nobody would get hurt. Shut up. Chitty snapped, the gun now pointed at Amara's chest. You'll get your money and keep your mouth shut, or you'll join them in the lagoon. Amara heard movement below deck, Zainab crying softly. Every instinct screamed at her to lunge forward, to fight, to protect her child. But she was trapped in this chair, helpless against a man with a gun. Then she remembered. She'd never been helpless. Not really. The wheelchair wasn't a cage. It was just a different way of moving through the world. Before you kill us, Amara said slowly, I have something you should know about Ngozi. Chitty's eyes narrowed. What about her? She's at a Keja police station right now, confessing everything. The insurance fraud, the murdered women, your entire operation. She wore a wire during your phone calls last week. They have recordings. Chitty, evidence of 6 murders. She watched the color drain from his face, watched panic replace arrogance. You're lying. Am I? Call her. See if she answers. Chitty's hand shook slightly as he pulled out his phone, the gun still trained on Amara, but his attention divided. That split second of distraction was all Detective Adebayo's sniper needed. The shot cracked across the marina like thunder, and the gun flew from Chitty's hand, his fingers bleeding from where the bullet had struck. He screamed, clutching his wounded hand as marine police erupted from the water, swarming the yacht. Amara wheeled herself forward as Emeka was tackled by officers. She rolled straight into the cabin where Zainab sat crying, scooping her daughter into her lap despite the awkward angle, despite the pain in her back from the movement. Mama! Zainab's arms wrapped around her neck, tiny body shaking. Mama, you came. Always, baby. Always. Amara's tears flowed freely now, relief and rage and love flooding through her all at once. Above them, Chitty was being handcuffed on the deck, screaming about his rights, about how this was all a misunderstanding. But the evidence was overwhelming. Ngozi's testimony, Detective Adebayo's recordings, the gun residue on his hands, and confession he'd made on video call just an hour earlier. Detective Adebayo appeared at the cabin door. Mrs. Okonkwo, we need to get you both to the hospital. Get checked out. In a moment, Amara held her daughter tighter, feeling Zainab's heartbeat against her chest. Her daughter was alive. Her daughter was safe. And Chitty was finished. But as they wheeled her off the yacht, paramedics checking Zainab's vital signs, Amara's phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her hit the green button. A man's voice, smooth and cultured, spoke. Mrs. Okonkwo, my name is Oyemide Bankole. I'm the senior partner at Bankole & Associates, Lagos's premier law firm. I represent several of the families of the women your husband allegedly murdered. We'd like to discuss a civil suit against Mr. Okonkwo and everyone involved in his operation. We believe together we can make sure he never sees daylight again. And more importantly, we can help you rebuild everything he tried to destroy. Amara looked back at the yacht, where Chitty was being led away in handcuffs, his expensive clothes soaked with lagoon water and blood, his empire crumbling around him. Mr. Bankole, she said, her voice steady and strong, I'm very interested in that conversation. But first, there's someone else who needs an answer for her crimes. My sister Ngozi may be cooperating with police, but she was complicit in everything Chitty did, and I intend to make sure she pays. I'll arrange a meeting. Tomorrow, my office, 10 a.m.? Perfect. I'll be there. As she ended the call, Amara realized the revenge she'd imagined, the simple satisfaction of exposing Chitty's infidelity, had transformed into something far more significant. She wasn't just going to destroy one man's life. She was going to dismantle an entire criminal network that had murdered 6 women and nearly killed a 7th. The living corpse was about to show Lagos what resurrection really looked like. What will Amara do to Ngozi? And what secrets will the investigation uncover? Drop a like if you're loving Amara's strength, comment what punishment Ngozi deserves, and subscribe because the next chapter is where Amara's revenge really begins. Don't miss it. The conference room at Bankole & Associates occupied the entire 20th floor of a glass tower in Lagos Island, with panoramic views of the city sprawling below, like a promise of power. Amara wheeled herself to the head of the massive mahogany table, refusing the assistant's offer to help. She'd learned that in rooms full of lawyers and grieving families, every gesture of independence mattered. Around the table sat 6 women, widows, daughters, sisters of the women Chitty had murdered. Their faces carried different shades of grief, but their eyes held the same hunger for justice that burned in Amara's chest. Alyamide Bankole stood at the front, a distinguished man in his 50s with silver threading through his hair, and the bearing of someone who'd never lost a case he cared about. Ladies, thank you for coming. Mrs. Okonkwo, thank you for agreeing to lead this fight. I'm not doing this for glory, Amara said quietly. I'm doing it because my daughter almost became an orphan, and because 6 women who should be alive aren't. Chitty Okonkwo destroyed families. It's time we destroy him completely. A young woman across the table, barely 25, Amara guessed, spoke up, her voice trembling. My mother, Adiz Nwosu, died 9 months ago. They said she fell down the stairs in her wheelchair, just like he tried to do to you. Tears streamed down her face. I believe it was an accident. I never questioned. I never thought her own husband would. None of us did. An older woman interjected. She introduced herself as Folik Adeyemi, whose sister had drowned in a bathtub 6 months after a car accident left her paralyzed. These men, our brothers-in-law, our family members, they smiled at funerals. They comforted us. And all along, they were counting insurance money. Alyamide pulled up a presentation on the screen behind him. The investigation has uncovered a network of 7 men, including Chitty Okonkwo, who've been systematically orchestrating these murders over the past 3 years. They met through a private club in Victoria Island, the Freedom Society, they called it, a support group for men married to disabled wives. The irony was sickening. Amara's stomach turned as Alyamide clicked through photographs of the men. Successful businessmen, respected community leaders, churchgoers with perfect public reputations. They shared methods, provided alibis for each other, and split insurance payouts. Chitty was the architect. He had connections with corrupt insurance adjusters who expedited claims and suppressed investigations. The total amount involved is over 50 million naira. Blood money, Amara whispered. Exactly. And that's where you come in, Mrs. Okonkwo. Alyamide turned to her. Your husband made one critical mistake. He kept records. Detailed financial records of every transaction, every payment, every murder. Police found them on his laptop during the search of your penthouse. He was arrogant enough to think he'd never get caught. Where are the other men now? 5 are in custody. 1 fled to South Africa. We're working on extradition. And the last... Alyamide paused. Well, he's proving more difficult. Who is he? Chief Obinna Akoli. He's a senator with connections to the governor's office. His wife, Chioma, died 8 months ago from a supposed medication overdose. But based on Ngozi's testimony and the record we found, it was murder. The problem is, Chief Akoli has enough political power to bury this case if we're not strategic. Amara's mind raced. A senator? This was bigger than she'd imagined. What do we need to do? We need public pressure. Media attention. We need to make this case so visible that even Chief Akoli's connections can't make it disappear. Al-Yamid looked around the table. That means going public with your stories. Press conferences, interviews, social media campaigns. It won't be easy. You'll be reliving your trauma, facing scrutiny, dealing with people who'll call you opportunist or worse. The room fell silent. Amara understood the weight of what he was asking. In Lagos, in Nigeria, powerful men rarely face consequences. The justice system bent toward money and influence. But she spent 6 months in a wheelchair learning that survival meant fighting battles others thought you couldn't win. I'll do it, Amara said. I'll tell my story. All of it. One by one, the other women nodded. They would fight together. As the meeting wrapped up, Al-Yamid pulled Amara aside. There's something else you should know about your sister. Amara's jaw tightened. She hadn't seen Ngozi since that morning on the stairs. Felt like a lifetime ago, though it had been less than 24 hours. What about her? The prosecutor's office is offering her immunity in exchange for her testimony against Chidi and the others. Full immunity, Mrs. Okonkwo. She walks free. The words hit like a physical blow. She was complicit. She knew what he was doing. For 2 weeks, according to her statement, and she came forward before the arrest. Legally, she has leverage. Al-Yamid's face was sympathetic but firm. I know it's not fair, but her testimony is crucial. Without it, we might lose Chief Akoli entirely. Amara closed her eyes, fighting the rage threatening to explode. Ngozi had betrayed her, slept with her husband, lived in her home while Chidi plotted murder, and now she would face no consequences? There has to be another way. There isn't. I'm sorry. Al-Yamid hesitated. But Mrs. Okonkwo, sometimes justice isn't about revenge. It's about preventing future harm. If Ngozi's testimony puts these men away forever, saves other women from becoming victims, then I'm supposed to just forgive her? Pretend she didn't destroy my marriage, my family? No, but you might have to accept that legal justice and personal justice aren't always the same thing. Amara wheeled herself out of the building, her mind churning. The Lagos sun beat down mercilessly as her driver helped her into the Range Rover. She'd asked him to take her somewhere she hadn't been since the accident. Her father's grave in a Ikoyi cemetery. The cemetery was quiet, shaded by ancient trees. Her father, Chief Emeka Okafor, had died 5 years ago from a heart attack. He'd built a modest fortune through hard work and shrewd real estate investments, the foundation upon which Amara had built her empire. If he could see her now, broken and fighting, what would he say? She wheeled herself to his grave, the ground soft beneath her wheels from recent rain. Papa, she whispered in Igbo, I need your wisdom. I'm so angry I can barely see straight. Ngozi betrayed me. She helped a man who tried to kill me, and now she gets to walk free. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying the scent of earth and flowers from nearby graves. You always said that anger is a tool, not a master. That revenge is a fire that burns the one who holds it most. But how do I let this go? How do I watch her escape justice? Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mrs. Okonkwo, this is Ngozi. Please, I need to see you. I know you hate me. I deserve that. But there are things about Chidi you don't know. Things that will help your case. Meet me at Mama Cass at 6 p.m. I'm begging you. The same restaurant Ngozi had mentioned yesterday. The same time. As if the last 24 hours of chaos hadn't happened. Amara stared at the message, then at her father's gravestone. Everything in her screamed to ignore it, to let Ngozi drown in her own guilt. But Al-Yamid's words echoed. If it saves other women from becoming victims, she texted back, I'll be there, but come alone and don't expect forgiveness. At 5:45 p.m., Amara arrived at Mama Cass restaurant in Ikeja. The popular eatery was crowded with after-work diners, the smell of jollof rice and grilled fish filling the air. She chose a table in the back corner, visible but private, and waited. Ngozi arrived precisely at 6, looking nothing like the confident woman who'd paraded around in Amara's robe. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes red-rimmed from crying, her clothes simple and worn. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. "Thank you for coming," Ngozi said, sliding into the chair across from Amara. She didn't try to touch her, didn't reach across the table. Just sat there, wringing her hands. "Talk," Amara said coldly. "You have 5 minutes." I was stupid, blinded by what I thought was love. Ngozi's voice cracked. "Chitty told me you were cruel to him, that your marriage was dead long before the accident. He made me believe I was saving him from a loveless life. I know now that's not true. I know he used me. You knew we were married. You knew I was your sister. That's not stupidity, Ngozi. That's betrayal. You're right." Tears streamed down Ngozi's face. "I don't deserve forgiveness. But I need you to understand, when I found out about the murders, when I heard him on the phone talking about eliminating the problem, I thought he meant you. I thought he was planning to kill you. That's when I realized what kind of monster he was. So you went to the police to save yourself, not me." "Yes," Ngozi admitted, "at first. But then I thought about Zainab, about how she'd grow up without a mother, raised by a murderer. And I couldn't let that happen." Amara wanted to believe this was genuine remorse, but 6 months of betrayal had taught her to trust nothing at face value. Al-Yamid said you have information that could help the case. "What is it?" Ngozi pulled out a flash drive from her purse, sliding it across the table. "Video recordings. Chitty kept them as insurance against the other men in his network. Footage of their meetings, discussions of each murder, celebrations after payouts. He stored them in a safety deposit box at First Bank. I have the key and access codes." Amara stared at the flash drive. "The police don't have this?" "No. I kept it separate from my official statement. Because," Ngozi met her eyes for the first time, "because I wanted to give it to you directly, let you decide what to do with it. The prosecutor's office will use it strategically, might even suppress parts that don't fit their narrative. But you'll make sure everyone sees exactly who these men are." It was manipulation, Amara realized. A final bid for redemption, for Amara's approval. But it was also leverage, real, powerful evidence that could destroy Chief Akoli and every other man in that network. "Why should I trust you?" "Because I'm still your sister, even though I don't deserve to be. Because Mama and Papa raised us better than this, and I've dishonored their memory. Because..." Ngozi's voice broke completely. "Because I've lost you forever, and the least I can do is help you win." Amara pocketed the flash drive, her expression unreadable. "You're right about one thing. You have lost me. We're not sisters anymore. Ngozi, when this trial is over, when these men are in prison, I never want to see you again. I understand." Ngozi stood, wiping her tears. "For what it's worth, I loved him, really loved him, and he made me feel like I mattered, like I was special. But I know now that he was incapable of loving anyone but himself. You deserve better. Zainab deserved better." As Ngozi walked away, disappearing into the crowded restaurant, Amara sat alone with the flash drive burning a hole in her pocket. She'd gotten what she came for, evidence that would bury Chitty and his accomplices forever. But victory fell hollow. Her marriage was destroyed. Her relationship with her only sibling was irreparable. Her body was permanently changed. Even when she won this fight, and she would win, what would be left? Her phone rang. "Detective Adebayo. Mrs. Okonkwo, you need to come to the station immediately. There's been a development." "What kind of development?" "Chief Obinna Akoli just turned up dead. Apparent suicide in his home office. But the crime scene, it doesn't look right. We think someone silenced him before he could talk." Amara's blood ran cold. "The other men? We don't know yet. But Mrs. Okonkwo, if there's someone cleaning up loose ends, you might be in danger. You're the most visible victim, the face of this case. You need protection." As if on cue, Amara noticed a man in a black jacket watching her from across the restaurant. He wasn't eating, wasn't looking at his phone, just watching. When their eyes met, he stood and walked quickly toward the exit. Amara's heart raced. She wheeled toward the restaurant's kitchen, knowing there was a back exit through there. Behind her, she heard rapid footsteps, the crash of a chair being knocked over. Someone was following her, and she was trapped in a wheelchair in a crowded restaurant with nowhere to run. Is this the end for Amara? Who's trying to silence her? Smash that like button if you're on the edge of your seat. Comment who you think is behind Chief Akoli's death. And subscribe because next chapter will reveal the shocking truth behind this entire conspiracy. You won't believe what happens next. Amara burst through the kitchen doors, her wheelchair wheels skidding on the greasy floor as startled cooks jumped back. Back exit, she shouted in Yoruba. Where's the back exit? A young cook pointed toward a narrow hallway past the industrial refrigerators. Behind her, the kitchen doors swung open again. The man in the black jacket, moving fast, his hand reaching inside his coat. Amara pumped her wheels harder, her arms burning with effort. The hallway was tight, lined with storage boxes and bags of rice. Her wheelchair scraped against the walls as she navigated the cramped space. Behind her, she heard the man curse as he knocked over a stack of crates, buying her precious seconds. The back door appeared, a heavy metal emergency exit. With a push bar, Amara slammed into it with her full weight, and it burst open into an alley behind the restaurant. The Lagos evening air hit her face, thick with humidity and the smell of garbage from nearby dumpsters. Her Range Rover was parked out front. Her driver was out front. She was alone in an alley with a killer closing in. Amara's phone was already in her hand, Detective Adebayo's number dialing. The detective answered on the first ring. Mrs. Okonkwo, where are you? Mama Cass, back alley. Someone's... The kitchen door exploded open. The man in the black jacket stood there, but his hand wasn't reaching for a weapon. It was raised, palm out, in a gesture of peace. Mrs. Okonkwo, wait. I'm not here to hurt you. Then why are you chasing me? Amara demanded. Phone still pressed her ear as Detective Adebayo shouted questions through the speaker. Because I'm trying to protect you. My name is Colonel Adissa. I'm a private investigator hired by Chief Akoli's daughter. She suspected her father's death wasn't suicide, and she wanted me to warn you before. A gunshot cracked through the alley. Colonel ducked aside as the bullet punched into the brick wall, where his head had been a moment before. Amara spun her wheelchair, searching for the shooter. A figure emerged from the shadows at the far end of the alley. Tall, muscular, moving with military precision. Even in the dim light, Amara recognized him. Emeka Chitty's bodyguard, the man who'd helped kidnap Zainab, the man who was supposed to be in police custody. Emeka? Amara's voice was steady despite the terror flooding her system. They let you out? Bail, Mrs. Okonkwo. Amazing what money can buy. He raised a gun, aiming directly at her. Nothing personal. But the others, they're worried you'll testify. Worried that flash drive your sister gave you'll destroy everything. Can't let that happen. So someone had been watching her meeting with Ngozi. Someone in the network knew about the evidence. Kunna was on his feet, moving between Amara and the gun. You shoot her, and every cop in Lagos will hunt you down. They have to catch me first. Emeka's finger tightened on the trigger. The sound of sirens suddenly filled the alley. Police vehicles screaming to a stop at both ends, blocking all exits. Detective Adebayo had stayed on the line, had heard everything, had dispatched units immediately. Emeka's eyes darted between the police cars, calculating odds. Then he turned and ran, disappearing through a gap between buildings with the practiced ease of someone who knew Lagos's back alleys intimately. Officers swarmed the scene, guns drawn. Detective Adebayo appeared breathless, helping Amara steady herself. Are you hurt? No. Shaken, but not hurt. Amara looked at Colonel, who was being questioned by another officer. He said he was hired by Chief Akoli's daughter? That's true, Detective Adebayo confirmed. Blessing, Akoli contacted us this morning. She believes her father was murdered because he wanted to confess, to make a deal with prosecutors. She said he'd found religion, was planning to expose the entire network. So they killed him to keep him quiet. We think so. And now they're cleaning up anyone who might testify, anyone who has evidence. Detective Adebayo's face was grim. Mrs. Okonkwo, you can't go home. Your penthouse isn't safe. We need to put you and Zainab in protective custody until the trial. Amara's mind raced through the implications. Hiding, running, living in fear. Everything she'd sworn she wouldn't do. But she had Zainab to think about. Her daughter had already been traumatized once. She couldn't risk her safety again. Where's my daughter now? Safe house in Lekki with 2 armed officers. We move her there this afternoon after Chief Akoli's death. I want to see her. Of course. But first, Detective Adebayo held out her hand. The flash drive Ngozi gave you. We need it in evidence lockup where it can't be stolen or destroyed. Amara hesitated, her hand instinctively moving to protect her pocket. That flash drive was power, leverage she might need. But Detective Adebayo was right. If she was killed tonight, if someone broke into wherever she was hiding, that evidence would die with her. She handed it over. Make copies. Multiple copies. Send them to every news outlet in Lagos if anything happens to me. Already planning on it. Detective Adebayo pocketed the drive. Now let's get you somewhere safe. The safe house was a modest 3-bedroom apartment in a gated community in Lekki, nothing like the penthouse luxury Amara was accustomed to. But when she wheeled through the door and saw Zainab sitting on the couch watching cartoons, safe and whole, luxury didn't matter. Mama! Zainab launched herself on the couch into Amara's lap, nearly tipping the wheelchair with the force of her hug. Easy, baby. Mama's okay. Amara held her daughter tight, breathing in the scent of her shea, butter hair cream, and childhood innocence. Are they treating you well here? The police ladies are nice. They let me have ice cream for dinner. Zainab pulled back, her young face serious beyond her 7 years. Mama, we're going to be okay? Is Daddy really a bad man? How did you explain to a child that her father was a murderer? That he'd tried to kill them both? Amara chose her words carefully. Daddy made some very bad choices that hurt people. He's going to be punished for those choices. But you and me, we're going to be just fine. We're survivors, remember? Like the people in your stories. The ones who fight back and win. Exactly like them. Amara kissed her daughter's forehead. Now, how about you show me what cartoons you're watching? As Zainab settled back to explain the plot of some animated show about superheroes, Amara's phone buzzed with an email notification. The sender was anonymous, but the subject line made her blood run cold. You should have stayed down. She opened it. The email contained a single photograph. Her childhood home in Enugu, where her elderly aunt still lived. The picture had been taken today, based on the timestamp. Someone was threatening her family. The message below the photo read, "Drop the case, withdraw your testimony, destroy all evidence, or your aunt joins the other women who got in our way. You have 24 hours. Amara's hand shook as she forwarded the email to Detective Adebayo, then made a call she'd been dreading. Her Aunt Ebra answered on the 3rd ring, her voice warm and familiar. Amara, my daughter, I was just thinking about you. How are you and little Zainab? Auntie, I need you to listen very carefully. Don't panic, but I'm sending police officers to your house right now. You're not safe there. What? Amara, what's happening? Amara explained as gently as she could. The murders, the threats, the danger. By the end, Aunt Ebra was crying softly. These men, they're evil, pure evil. But you, my daughter, you're going to stop them. I know you will. But if something happens to you because of me, then I'll have died protecting my sister's child. Your mother, God rest her soul, would want me to stand by you. You don't back down from this fight, you hear me? You make them pay for what they've done. After arranging for Aunt Ebra's protection, Amara sat in the safe house's small kitchen, staring at her laptop screen. The preliminary trial date was set for next week, a bail hearing for Chitty and the other arrested man. The prosecution would present evidence, witnesses would testify, and the judge would decide whether to keep them locked up or release them pending full trial. If any of them made bail, if they walked free even temporarily, the cleanup would accelerate. More witnesses would die. More evidence would disappear. The entire case could collapse. Amara opened her email and began typing. Not to the prosecutor, not to Detective Adebayo, but to every major news outlet in Lagos. The Guardian, Punch, Vanguard, Premium Times. Even the bloggers and social media influencers who shape public opinion. She wrote her story in unflinching detail. The accident that wasn't an accident. The husband who became a monster. The network of killers hiding behind respectability. She named names, attached documents from a flash drive that she'd secretly copied before handing it over, included photographs of the 6 murdered women with their stories. And she ended with a direct challenge. I am Amara Okonkwo, and I will not be silenced. I will not be intimidated. I will not back down. These men try to make me a victim, try to turn me into a living corpse they could discard. Instead, I became their worst nightmare, a witness who survived, who remembers, who will testify. If I die before the trial, know that I died fighting, and know that every word here is true. She hit send on all messages simultaneously, then sat back and waited for the explosion. It came within an hour. Her phone started ringing nonstop, reporters, producers, talk show hosts all wanting interviews. Social media erupted with hashtags. Hashtag Justice for Amara. Hashtag Lagos Black Widowers. Hashtag End Domestic Violence. Her story was being shared thousands of times per minute, spreading across Nigeria and beyond. By midnight, the story had gone international. CNN Africa picked it up. BBC World Service ran a segment. The pressure on Lagos authorities became enormous. There was no way to bury this case now. No amount of political influence that could overcome the glare of worldwide attention. Detective Adebayo called, tore between admiration and frustration. Mrs. Okonkwo, what you did was incredibly brave and incredibly dangerous. You've painted a target on your back. The target was already there, Amara replied. Now at least everyone can see it. And if they kill me, the whole world will know why. You've changed the game. The prosecutor's office is fast-tracking the trial. They want to move while public attention is high. And there's something else. Detective Adebayo paused. 2 more men from a network have come forward to confess, hoping for deals. They're terrified of the public backlash. Your story broke them. Amara felt a grim satisfaction. Not revenge exactly, but justice beginning to take shape. What about Emeka? Did you find him? Not yet, but we will. He can't hide forever, not with his face plastered across every news channel in the country. After the call ended, Amara checked on Zainab, sleeping peacefully in the small bedroom, exhausted from the day's stress. She wheeled herself to the window, looking out at the Lagos night skyline, lights twinkling like stars falling to earth. Her phone buzzed one more time. A text from another unknown number. You've made a powerful enemy, Mrs. Okonkwo, but you've also made powerful friends. Women across Nigeria are organizing protests, demanding justice. You're not alone in this fight. We stand with you. The Widows' Coalition. Tears stung Amar's eyes. She thought she was fighting this battle alone, a crippled woman against an empire of corruption. But her story had awakened something, a collective rage, a shared determination to end the violence that had stolen mothers, daughters, sisters, wives. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for every woman who'd been betrayed, diminished, discarded. Every woman told she was worthless, powerless, nothing. The trial would be brutal. The threats would continue. Some days, the weight of it all would feel crushing. But Amara had learned something in that wheelchair over 6 months of hell. Strength isn't about standing on your own 2 feet. It's about refusing to stay down, no matter how many times they push you. She pulled up her social media accounts and posted a simple message. I'm still here. I'm still fighting. And I'm going to win. Hashtag Justice for Amara. Hashtag Living Corpse No More. Within minutes, the comments flooded in. Thousands of women sharing their own stories of domestic betrayal, infidelity, abuse, survival. The movement was growing, unstoppable as a river breaking through a dam. Somewhere in Lagos, Chidi sat in a jail cell, watching his empire crumble on a television screen. Somewhere, the other men in his network realized their secrets were exposed, their futures destroyed. Somewhere, Ngozi watched her sister become a national hero and understood the magnitude of what she'd thrown away. And in a modest, safe house in Lekki, a woman in a wheelchair held her sleeping daughter and smiled for the first time in 6 months. The revenge she dreamed of, public humiliation, financial ruin, complete destruction of the man who betrayed her, was happening. But it was bigger than revenge now. It was revolution. Amara has gone public. But at what cost? Will Emeka strike before the trial? And what shocking testimony will come out in court? Like if you're inspired by Amara's courage, comment Justice for Amara if you stand with her, and subscribe because the final chapter is going to reveal how this incredible story of betrayal and revenge ends. You won't want to miss it. 3 weeks later, Amara wheeled herself to the entrance of Lagos High Court, flanked by security personnel and a sea of protesters holding signs that read, "Justice for the Widows," and "Living Corpses Rise Up." The crowd erupted in cheers as she passed, women reaching out to touch her wheelchair, to offer prayers, to tell her she was their champion. The courtroom was packed beyond capacity. Standing room only, with overflow crowds watching on screens outside. This wasn't just a trial anymore. It had become a referendum on domestic violence, on justice for women, on whether powerful men could still murder with impunity in modern Nigeria. Amara took her place at the front, beside Oyemide Bankole and the 5 other women whose families had been destroyed by Chitty's network. Behind them sat rows of supporters. The Widows Coalition, women's rights activists, journalists from around the world documenting every moment. Across the aisle sat Chitty Okonkwo, looking nothing like the confident businessman who'd push her wheelchair toward the stairs. Prison had hollowed him out. His expensive suit hung loose on his frame. His eyes were sunken and paranoid, darting around the courtroom as if searching for escape routes that didn't exist. Next to him sat 4 other men from the network, all shackled, all facing murder charges. The 6th man, the one who'd fled to South Africa, had been extradited 2 days ago. Chief Obinna Akoli's empty chair stood as a reminder of what happened to those who tried to confess. Emeka was still at large, but Detective Adebayo had assured Amara that every port, every border crossing, every airport in West Africa was watching for him. He couldn't run forever. The judge entered. Justice Obioma Nwankwo, a woman in her 60s known for her uncompromising stance on violence against women. Amara felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps the universe was finally tilting toward justice. "All rise," the bailiff announced, and the courtroom rustled to attention. Justice Nwankwo surveyed the packed room with sharp eyes. "This court is now in session. Before we begin, I want to make something clear. This trial will be conducted with dignity and respect for all parties. The victims deserve justice. The accused deserve fair representation. And the people of Nigeria deserve truth. Counsels, are you ready to proceed?" The prosecution stood, a fierce woman named Amina Yusuf, who'd made her career prosecuting domestic violence cases. "Yes, Your Honor. The state is ready to present overwhelming evidence that these 6 men conspired to murder their disabled wives for financial gain." Chitty's lawyer, a slick corporate attorney named Tun Martins, rose with less confidence than his expensive suit suggested. "Your Honor, my clients maintain their innocence. We'll prove these charges are based on circumstantial evidence and the testimony of an unreliable witness seeking immunity for her own crimes." He was talking about Ngozi. Amara's jaw tightened as her sister was called to the stand. Ngozi walked the witness box looking like a ghost of herself, thin, pale, her hair wrapped in a simple scarf. She avoided looking at Amara as she was sworn in. Amina Yusuf approached. "Miss Okafor, please tell the court how you became involved with Chitty Okonkwo." Ngozi's voice was barely audible. He pursued me at a family dinner about 8 months ago. Said he was unhappy in his marriage, that Amara, my sister, had become cold and distant after her accident. And you believed him? I wanted to believe him. I was lonely, struggling financially. He was charming, generous, made me feel special. Tears streamed down Ngozi's face. "I know that's no excuse. I betrayed my sister. I destroyed my family. When did you discover Mr. Okonkwo's true intentions?" 2 weeks before his arrest. I overheard a phone conversation. He was talking about eliminating the problem and making it look natural. I thought he meant Amara. That's when I realized. Ngozi finally looked at Amara, her eyes pleading for understanding that would never come. That's when I realized he never loved either of us. We were both just obstacles to his money. Amina Yusuf pulled up video footage on the courtroom screens, recordings from a flash drive, showing Chitty and the other men in a private room at a Victoria Island club. The audio was crystal clear. Chitty's voice, The key is patience. Make it look like they're just failing to adjust to disability. Depression, medication, accidents, falls. Insurance companies don't investigate thoroughly when it's a disabled woman who dies within a year of her injury. They expect it. Another man's voice. What about witnesses? Children? Chitty laughing. Children are traumatized, unreliable. And if they become a problem later, well, tragic accidents happen to children too. The courtroom erupted in gasps and shouts. Justice Nwankwo banged her gavel. Order. I will have order. But the damage was done. Even Chitty's lawyer looked shaken, his defense strategy crumbling before the trial had truly begun. You couldn't explain away video evidence of a man casually discussing child murder. Amara watched Chitty's face drain of color as his own words condemned him. This was the moment she'd been fighting for. Seeing him exposed, stripped his charm and lies, revealed as the monster he truly was. The prosecution spent the next 3 days presenting evidence. Financial records showing insurance payouts and distributions among the men, medical reports proving the accidents had been staged, testimony from investigators who'd examined each case and found suspicious patterns. On day 4, Amara herself took the stand. She wheeled to the witness box, refusing assistance, her spine straight despite the pain that still flared in her back. She dressed carefully that morning. A traditional Ankara outfit in bold blues and golds, her hair styled in an elegant updo. She looked like power incarnate. Despite the wheelchair, Amina Yusuf smiled encouragingly. Mrs. Okonkwo, please tell the court about the day of your accident. Amara took a breath, then spoke clearly, her voice carrying to every corner of the silent courtroom. It was a Tuesday morning in March. I was driving to a site inspection for a new development in Aja. My car was new. I just had it serviced a week before. But as I approached 3rd Mainland Bridge, the brakes failed. Completely failed. I pumped them frantically, but nothing happened. I crashed into the barrier at 60 kilometers per hour. And what happened next? I woke up in a hospital 3 days later, paralyzed from the waist down. My husband was there, holding my hand, crying. He swore he'd stand by me, that nothing would change between us. Amara's voice hardened. That was a lie. Everything changed. He became cruel, dismissive. Within 3 months, he was sleeping with my sister in our bed. Did you suspect your accident wasn't truly an accident? Not at first. I was too focused on survival, on learning to live in this body. But about 4 months after the crash, my daughter mentioned something, a nightmare she'd had about her father and aunt doing bad things to Mama's car. I thought it was just childhood confusion, but it planted a seed of doubt. When did that doubt become certainty? When I found documents in my husband's study showing he'd been systematically transferring my assets to his name, and when Detective Adebayo told me my brake lines had been cut. Amara locked eyes with Chitty across the courtroom. He looked away first. That's when I knew my husband had tried to murder me. And when I learned about the other women, I knew I hadn't been his first victim, just the one who survived. Mrs. Okonkwo, why do you think you survived when the others didn't? Amara considered the question carefully. Stubbornness, maybe. Anger. I'd built everything in my life from nothing. My business, my reputation, my independence. I wasn't going to let a man, not even my husband, take that away. Even in a wheelchair, even broken and betrayed, I refused to become the living corpse he called me. I refused to die. The courtroom erupted in applause. Justice Nwankwo banged her gavel, but didn't stop it immediately, letting the moment breathe, letting Amara's words sink in. Chitty's lawyer stood for cross-examination, but his heart wasn't in it. Mrs. Okonkwo, isn't it possible you're misinterpreting events? That your accident was genuine, and your subsequent marital problems were simply the result of stress and adjustment difficulties? No, Amara said flatly. I have video evidence of my husband pushing my wheelchair toward stairs while calling me a living corpse. I have recordings of him discussing murder with his accomplices. I have his own confession on video call while he held my daughter hostage. There's no misinterpretation, counselor. There's just truth and your client's desperate attempts to avoid it. The lawyer sat down, defeated. Over the next week, the prosecution paraded witness after witness. The other widows and their families, insurance investigators, police forensic experts, even employees in the Victoria Island Club where the men had met. Each testimony built an irrefutable case of conspiracy, murder, and fraud. But the most devastating witness came on day 9. Blessing Akoli, Chief Obinna Akoli's daughter. The young woman, barely 23, took the stand with quiet dignity. My father was a weak man who made terrible choices. But in his final days, he found his conscience. He told me everything. How he'd been recruited into the network, how he'd murdered my mother, how the guilt was destroying him. What did he plan to do? Amina Yusuf asked gently. He was going to confess. Turn state's evidence against the others. He'd arranged a meeting with prosecutors for the day after he died. Blessing's voice broke. Someone found out. Someone killed him to keep him quiet. And I believe that someone was Emeka Okafor, acting on orders from these men. As if summoned by his name, commotion erupted at the back of the courtroom. Officers were dragging someone in, a man in handcuffs, struggling and shouting. Emeka found him hiding in a warehouse in Apapa, Detective Adebayo announced, emerging from the crowd. He was planning to flee by cargo ship to Ghana tonight. Emeka was forced into a seat, and Justice Nwankwo called a brief recess to allow prosecutors to prepare questions for this unexpected witness. When court reconvened, Emeka sat in the witness box, his face sullen. Amina Yusuf approached like a predator circling prey. Mr. Okafor, did you murder Chief Obinna Akoli? I want immunity. Emeka shot back. I talk, I walk. That's the deal. Answer the question first, then we'll discuss deals. Emeka looked at Chitty, who stared at him with murder in his eyes. The silent threat was clear. Talk, and you're a dead man. But Emeka seemed to weigh his options and decided prison was safer than loyalty. Yeah, I killed him. Chitty paid me 2 million naira to make it look like suicide. Said the old man was going to rat everyone out. Emeka's confession tumbled out in a rush. I've been doing his dirty work for 5 years, intimidating business rivals, destroying evidence, scaring witnesses. I knew what he was doing to those women, and I helped cover it up for money. The courtroom exploded. Justice Nwankwo banged her gavel repeatedly, calling for order as journalists rushed to file breaking updates, and protesters outside erupted in triumphant cheers. Chitty stood, his face purple with rage. You lying bastard. I never. Sit down, Mr. Okonkwo. Justice Nwankwo commanded. You'll have your chance to testify if your lawyer advises it. But Tun Martins was already whispering urgently to Chitty, clearly counseling against taking the stand. Nothing Chitty could say would overcome video evidence, multiple confessions, and forensic proof. His conviction was inevitable now. The trial lasted 3 more days as defense attorneys mounted increasingly desperate arguments, questioning witness credibility, suggesting police corruption, claiming their clients had been manipulated by Chitty. But it was all theater. Everyone in that courtroom knew how this would end. On the final day, Justice Nwankwo read her verdict. I have reviewed all evidence presented in this case with great care and sadness. Sadness because we have before us men who took sacred vows of marriage and transformed them into death sentences. Men who looked at their disabled wives, women at their most vulnerable, and saw not human beings deserving of care, but obstacles to be eliminated. She looked directly at Chitty. Mr. Okonkwo, you masterminded a conspiracy that resulted in the deaths of 6 women and attempted murder of a 7th. You manipulated, you murdered, and you showed no remorse. This court finds you guilty on all charges. One by one, she pronounced the other men guilty as well. The sentences came swiftly. Life in prison without possibility of parole for Chitty and 3 others. 25 years for the 2 who cooperated with prosecutors. 15 years for Emeka, who'd turned state's evidence. As the men were led away in chains, Chitty turned for one final look at Amara. She met his gaze unflinchingly, and in that moment, she saw something in his eyes she'd never seen before. Fear. Real, genuine fear of spending the rest of his life in prison, forgotten and powerless. You were supposed to stay down, he shouted as guards dragged him toward the exit. You were supposed to die. But I didn't. Amara called back, her voice ringing through the courtroom. I survived. And I made sure you didn't. Outside the courthouse, media swarmed her. Amara wheeled to the microphone that had been set up. Cameras from a dozen nations focused on her face. Today, justice was served, she began. But this isn't just my victory. This is for every woman who's been told she's worthless, powerless, nothing. For every survivor of domestic violence who thought she had no voice. For every mother fighting to protect her children from monsters hiding behind respectable facades. Her voice grew stronger. They called me a living corpse. Thought I would be easy to discard. But I'm still here. We're still here. And we will not be silent. We will not be victims. We will be survivors who fight back and win. The crowd roared approval, and Amara felt tears streaming down her face, not of sadness, but of release. She'd carried this burden for so long, fought this battle through pain and betrayal and fear. Now it was over. Well, almost over. 6 months later, Amara stood in the Lagos High Court again, but this time she was standing. Months of intensive physical therapy, experimental treatments, and sheer determination had restored partial mobility to her legs. She still used a wheelchair most days, still dealt with chronic pain, but on special occasions she could stand. And today was special. Today was the civil suit settlement hearing, where the court would determine financial restitution for the victims' families. Justice Nwankwo smiled as Amara stood at the defendant's table. Mrs. Okonkwo, it's good to see you on your feet. It's good to be here, Your Honor. The settlement was staggering. All of Chitty's assets, the penthouse, the cars, every property held in his name, were to be liquidated and distributed among the victims' families. Additionally, the insurance companies that had paid out on the fraudulent claims were ordered to provide further compensation. Amara's share alone was worth over 50 million naira, but she'd already decided what to do with it. Your Honor, I'd like to establish a foundation, the Living Corpses Foundation, to provide legal aid, counseling, and financial support to disabled women facing domestic violence. I want to make sure no woman ever feels as helpless as I once did. Justice Nwankwo nodded approvingly. The court commends your generosity, Mrs. Okonkwo. As Amara left the courthouse for the final time, she found Zainab waiting with her driver. Her daughter ran forward, and Amara caught her in a hug, balancing on legs that were still learning to be strong again. Mama, you were standing. Zainab's eyes shone with pride. I was, baby. And you know what? Sometimes standing up is about more than just legs. It's about refusing to let anyone push you down. They drove home. Not to the penthouse that held too many painful memories, but to a beautiful house in Ikoyi that Amara had purchased with her settlement money. It had ramps and wide hallways for the days she needed the wheelchair, but also stairs she could practice climbing, pushing herself to reclaim every bit of mobility possible. That evening, as Amara tucked Zainab into bed, her daughter asked a question she'd been avoiding. Mama, do you ever think about Daddy? Amara considered lying, giving a simple answer, but she'd learned that truth, however painful, was better than comfortable deception. Sometimes, I think about the man I thought he was, the marriage I thought we had, and I feel sad for what we lost. But mostly I feel grateful. Grateful that we survived, that we're free, that we get to build a new life without fear, without lies, without someone trying to make us feel small. Amara kissed her daughter's forehead. Your father made choices that hurt many people, but those choices don't define us. We define ourselves. After Zainab fell asleep, Amara wheeled herself to her office, a bright, airy room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lagos. On her desk sat her laptop and plans for the Living Corpses Foundation. Applications from women seeking help were already flooding in, and Amara intended to answer every single one. Her phone buzzed. A text from Detective Adebayo. Saw the news about the settlement. Congratulations, Mrs. Okonkwo. You changed the world. Amara smiled and typed back. We changed it together, and we're not done yet. She pulled up her social media, where messages of support and gratitude continued to pour in daily. Women sharing their own stories, finding courage in Amara's example, refusing to accept abuse as their fate. The movement had grown beyond anything she'd imagined. Hashtag Living Corpse No More had inspired legislation. New laws protecting disabled women, mandatory investigations of suspicious deaths, harsher penalties for domestic violence. The case had sparked national conversations about marriage, betrayal, and justice that would echo for generations. Amara looked at her reflection in the dark window. A woman scarred but not broken, changed but not defeated. The wheelchair beside her desk was no longer a symbol of weakness, but a reminder of survival, of adaptation, of refusing to accept what life tried to force upon her. Chitty had called her a living corpse, tried to make her believe she was nothing without him. Instead, she'd proven she was everything: survivor, fighter, champion for those who couldn't fight for themselves. Life had turned fast, just as the title of her story promised. From victim to victor, from broken to unbreakable, from corpse to phoenix rising from ashes. And the best part? This was just the beginning. The foundation would help hundreds, maybe thousands of women. Her story would continue inspiring survivors for years to come. And every day, she would wake up knowing she'd taken the worst betrayal imaginable and transformed it into meaningful change. Amara Okonkwo had been pushed down the stairs by her husband, mocked as worthless, marked for death. But she climbed back up, sometimes on wheels, sometimes on shaky legs, always with unbreakable determination. And she would never, ever stay down again. Thank you for joining us on Amara's incredible journey of betrayal, survival, and revenge. If this story moved you, smash that like button. Subscribe for more powerful stories from Echoes of Africa, and share this with anyone who needs to hear that they can rise above their circumstances. Drop a comment telling us what inspired you most about Amara's story, and let us know where you're watching from. Your support means everything to us. Remember, you are not powerless, you are not alone, and your story matters. Until next time, stay strong, stay resilient, and never let anyone tell you that you can't rise again. God bless.